Brilliant. Thanks for coming, everyone. You having a good day? Awesome. So we've got 50 minutes now, so we've got plenty of time to go through this stuff. Now, there's a theory, all right? There's a theory that we all have an inbuilt preference for color and for color temperature, all right? And this theory says that it's to do with where you come from in the world, whether you're in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, how close you are to the equator. Is this a cultural thing? Is it a geographical thing? Is it a thing at all? All right. I was only joking about the 50 minutes thing, just to stress out the guys there. But what we're going to do, we're going to have a little tour. We're going to go around the world in the 15 minutes that we've got. We're going to have a look at some places and have a look at some stuff and see what we think. Okay, so strap yourselves in. We're going to start our journey here in London. So we're in the west and we're towards the north. All right, so you would expect that we would have colour temperature nice and warm, and that's what we're seeing. So, we're here in the London Design Festival. If we were to head outside, we're seeing lots of warm light, and come January, we're going to be really pleased with this sort of warm light, so warming the cockles of our heart. All right, so that all seems to stack up, and yet we go across the pond to New York, and what are we seeing here? We're seeing lots of really cool light in the buildings. All right, can you make that out on the screen? Why is this? I mean, this is a place that gets to minus 10 degrees in the winter. It's bloody cold. So why aren't we seeing that warm light that we're seeing here in London? Maybe it's an American thing. All right. So let's continue. Here we are in San Francisco. So now San Francisco, despite what Mark Twain says, the weather is actually pretty nice. I've been there loads of times. It's always pretty clement weather. So how come we haven't got really cool light to counter that? Has San Francisco got New York's light, and has New York got San Francisco's? I don't know. Let's go further afield. Let's go up to Oslo. Let's have a look in Oslo. What have we got here? We've got some cool light. We've got some warm light. We've got a bit of a sort of mixture, some color. It's not really conclusive one way or the other. Let's go somewhere really hot. Let's go to Nairobi. This is downtown Nairobi at night. And at first glance, you think, wow, that's really warm, isn't it? But a lot of that light that we're seeing there is it's the urban light. It's from the street lights, from probably fairly uncontrolled sodium lighting. Look at the buildings. We're seeing lots of cool light, so maybe that's good for the theory. This is a place called Quito in Ecuador. It's right on the equator, and the theory sort of breaks down again here because we're seeing lots and lots of warm light. Apart from the most significant building on the skyline there, or in the sort of nightscape, we've got the big church, and that's lit with spectacular coloured light. So we're starting to see light as a tool for signifying the importance of a building. Isn't that interesting? Now, I think that we don't have enough colour in our lives in the West where we live, all right? So I go travelling with work and I go to different places, and quite often I see much more sort of vibrancy and colour in the places that I visit. This is a donkey piñata. There's a caravan there. It's probably in Mexico. Let's have a look at downtown Mexico City, and we see all these different colours. We've got warm light, we've got cool light, we've got coloured light. Even the clouds are funky coloured, all right? Isn't that fantastic? Here's a building that's lit with lots of different colours. This building is probably grey during the day. Despite what I've just, some of the slides that I've just been showing, I think it probably is safe to say that in Asian communities, we see a lot of cold light, all right, particularly at that sort of human scale. And why is this? How did this come to be? Perhaps it's something to do just with the availability of light sources and the availability of power as well. So fluorescents use a lot less energy than a halogen lamp, for example. So, they last a lot longer. Maybe that's why we see a lot more of this sort of cool light in those communities. And I think we're getting to the point where we're starting to see a real sort of mixture, a real sort of tapestry of different colours in the nighttime environment, because we're moving towards LED lighting, which is going to replace all the previous technologies. But at the moment, we're seeing this mixture of the previous and the new. So we've got the old-fashioned sodium with the first generation LEDs, which are really stark white, and then we've got the more modern LEDs that might be a bit higher quality, might be a bit warmer. We've got coloured advertising light and neon in the mix, and what we're seeing is this sort of quite a rich tapestry of colours in the nighttime environment. And I think there's nothing quite like light for setting the scene and for evoking our emotions and our feelings. And if you look at this environment here, this is an Asian eatery. It's out on the street, and the lighting there is as basic as can be, but it couldn't be more perfect for what this space is. Wouldn't you just love to go and rock up at this place and have a little meal? Here's another Asian restaurant. This one's in Sydney. All right. There's no exposed fluoros here. This is all beautifully curated, expensive light fittings in just the right place. And that too is utterly beautiful. It's very different. And they're both beautiful, but they're beautiful for different reasons and in different ways. Colour can it can represent a national identity. You look at this door and this wall, straight away you're thinking Greece, all right? Look at these pegs on the line. I'm thinking straight away, Himalayas, Bhutan. Who knows where this is, but that's what it says to me. Look at this Indian wedding. Look at all the colours and the texture and the outfits. And you can imagine the food and the smells and the music that's there. Talk about a sensory overload, okay? We don't seem to get that, do we, around here? What we get instead is lighting that is, it gives us a cue. A lot of the lighting that we see in our urban environment gives us a cue as to what this space is and what its function is in the society. So here we have a large retail offering. It's a supermarket, and we know that that's going to be lit with row after row after row of linear, stark white, fluoro or LED light sources. And we come to expect that because that's how you light a supermarket, isn't it? And yet, here's another large-scale retail environment. This one's in Thailand, and look at the colour and the texture and the vibrancy of this. Wouldn't you just love to have one of these just around the corner? Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they do delivery. Yeah, let's come back to reality. Let's come back to the West. Here's a laundrette. Guess how it's lit? Linear, fluorescent, cold, stark, boring lighting. And imagine if we used more colour here in the West. Imagine if we lit spaces to look more like a Mexican piñata or an Indian wedding or a Thai market. Wouldn't that be cool? Imagine the sort of, if we started to illuminate our buildings and our public spaces using big, bold, complementary colours in the space. Imagine the sort of creativity that could be unlocked if we started to use these these tools. Did you ever see anything more beautiful than this? All right. No, we can't do this in artificial lighting. This is just utterly beautiful. Wouldn't you just love to sit on that chair in the late afternoon and the sun streaming in through the window? And why is this so beautiful to us? I think we have a kind of inbuilt appreciation of this that is just all part of evolution. Like, we know what we like, and it's very hard to create that. Did you ever see a more faces looking better than when they're lit with natural light, either late morning or early morning or late afternoon? And it's natural light, and it's very soft, and it's diffused, and that light is shifting and it's changing subtly over time. And there's a lot we can do with artificial lighting, and we can make it look great, but it's never quite what you get with natural light. And of course, light is now changed. Light isn't just light anymore. What we get from our light fittings now is not just light. It can do more stuff. So I'm sure those that have been here for a while, I'm sure there's been the presentations on circadian lighting, and yeah, just by varying the intensity of light and the spectrum of light, we can make people feel more alert. What's not to love about that? Yeah, if you're the boss, getting people more alert and working harder, isn't that fantastic? It does concern me a little bit, I have to say, and I'm a little bit sceptical when I hear manufacturers. So I'm sure there's loads of manufacturers in the room, but when manufacturers say, "Oh, you've got to have this sort of stuff," of course they will say that. They told us a number of years ago we have to have LED lighting. We all bought into that. Now the LED lighting that we bought then needs to be replaced with circadian compatible light. I'm a little bit sceptical. And what we're seeing now in the nighttime environment is lots of very carefully controlled optical light. Have you noticed that the nighttime light that we see, as we've improved it, has become whiter? It's become cleaner and more crisp and clinical. We don't get lighting like this anymore. This is in America, so there's no optical control here on these light fittings. They're the old sodium sources. The light's going everywhere. All the buildings have a sort of, a little kind of, beneficial, facade lighting treatment that they didn't even pay for. And I know this is not great lighting, and I know it's not what you would do, and it's not what we would do in our practice either. But I think I'm going to miss this sort of environment when it's gone, and I think many people will. We talk about the preferences for cool light and for warm light, and you could look at this, and this is this cave, and you can think, wow, could there ever possibly be anything more beautiful than warm light streaming down through a cave? I don't know. Maybe this cave. I mean, it's still utterly beautiful, and yet it's completely different to the one that I showed in the previous slides. What's right? What's wrong? It's just a matter of personal preference. This is one for Brendan. This is probably up in Manchester. Pardon? Yeah. So here we are. We've got the dark satanic mills that William Blake talked about. And in here, we talk about circadian lighting. It's nothing new. We've had it for centuries. All right. These spaces here, this workspace, it has light that varies in intensity. The spectrum of the light changes through the course of the day, and you've got this sort of this beautiful sunlight streaming in through the windows. And of course, it's like that because electric light hadn't been invented when these spaces were created. But the workplace has evolved, hasn't it? So we don't need those windows anymore, those inefficient windows. We can get rid of them because we can put in a whole load of overhead lights and perform really close, detailed tasks on paper, regardless of the time of day. All right. But now, of course, the workplace doesn't look like that anymore. We have different tasks that we do in our workplaces now. All right. My cubicle is the 7th one on the right there, by the way. How the workplace has evolved. How does how does architectural lighting respond in concert with the evolution of the workplace? Where is it heading? And I think playing God with the circadian system, making people alert where they're supposed to be feeling drowsy, I'm not sure that's the way to go. What is the future? I think it's about control. I think it's about individual control. We're all individuals. We're all human beings. We all like different things. We all have different. We've all got a different favourite colour. I think in the future we should be able to control our lighting to a much finer degree, and I think that's where we should be heading. It's not circadian lighting. So anyway, I've been rambling on. Thank you very much for listening. Cheers.